This is Sal, and you are listening to the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast on the BS Podcast Network.
In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts Kevin Cotillo, Sal Lito, and Stephen Marcus.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today is Tuesday, August 22nd, and this is the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Cotillo. I have with me, as always, Steve Marcus. What's going on, Steve?
What up? How's it going, Kev?
It's going very, very well. I'm
Good.
doing excellent. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing absolutely great. Just
That's
waiting.
good. Let's just bring in the negativity.
All right.
Sal, how's it going, buddy?
No, you two sound like a couple of nerds leading off the show, for the love of God. Really? I'm doing fine until I got here.
Oh, what?
You really
what did you just
that
bring?
miserable?
What?
What did you just bring?
What did I bring? What the hell are you talking about?
What
He
did you
brought
just
nothing
bring?
to the table is what his point is. That's it.
I
He
brought me.
nothing.
The people wait for me every Tuesday and Thursday to come into their living rooms.
I think they listen on Wednesday and Friday.
Oh, then it's just creepy at this point.
Yeah, now it's just weird. We have a jam-packed show, so we need to kick this off because Sal actually mentioned prior to recording that he hasn't showered yet, and I'm sure his family hates that. So
I can tell.
we have to move very quickly through this podcast for the sake of his family. So we are going to get right into we have a great show. Like I said, we have Phil Perry coming on from csnne.com. All things Patriots. Phil Perry's been on the show several times. He's a great guest. We are going to talk about the Play Draft app, and we are going to get into a Fantasy Life app mailbag tonight, where we answer questions directly from the app regarding draft stuff, because it's draft season, Steve.
That's right. Draft season. I had a dynasty draft the other night. Very happy about that. I mentioned
Startup?
No, it was
New
not.
league, huh?
It was not a startup. It was a third year of a dynasty draft I had started a couple years ago with some buddies. And like I had said to everyone in the chat, I dropped Eric Ebron and picked up Evan Ingram. And I'm so happy about that. Two tight ends whose both initials start with E, which is kind of odd. But I think I got the better one, and I'm not worried about it at all. No shame. Eric
You
Ebron,
had no
you're
room
done.
to keep Ebron and maybe drop someone else? I mean, Ebron's still a quality dynasty own, you know?
Now I had...
And knowing how bad you are at this game, I would have thought your team would be filled with people you could drop.
Listen, I had Hunter Henry, who is also a great dynasty tight end. I drafted Cameron Brate, who's a younger tight end, but obviously is going to be taken over by O.J. Howard in that situation. And then drafted Evan Ingram, and if you watched the football game last night, you see that he is already being utilized in that Giants offense. I do not feel bad about dropping Ebron in the slightest. Get rid of him.
So
He's
just
gone.
to be clear, you dropped Eric Ebron to hold on to Cameron Brate.
False. Cameron Brate is a placeholder, just in case something might happen to Hunter Henry.
But you dropped Eric Ebron.
Yep. Rid
And
of
you
him.
held on to Cameron Brate.
I don't need...
That-
No, I
those-
drafted Cameron Brate. I'd rather draft Cameron Brate than to hold on to Eric Ebron. The guy's a fizzle. He's a fizzle.
Either way, the point is you have Cameron Brate on your roster and you do not have Eric Ebron on your roster.
Correct. That's a
Meanwhile,
fact.
you have that's just so I can't even. Let's just get to Phil Perry. All right, so tonight we bring in one of my favorite guests, obviously, because I am the New England Patriots homer, and I listen to this guy on a regular basis. Phil Perry from csnne.com is joining us on the phone. What's going on, Phil?
Not much. I'm actually just leaving Gillette Stadium now after having my eardrums just absolutely assaulted by Kenny Chesney sound checks all day.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's brutal.
Kenny Chesney is back.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the training facility for the Patriots is directly is right next to the stadium, right behind the stadium, actually. So, yeah, I'm sure you got a good dose of it, huh?
Oh yeah. I think we heard every song in the catalog like 3 or 4 times, and I'm thinking of auditioning for like maybe some sort of backup vocals or something. I'm not even really a big Kenny Chesney guy, but I think at this point I at least know all the words of the song, so I'm like halfway there.
Excellent. Well, so we'll get into the Patriots in a minute, but first, some breaking news coming across that I'm sure some of your associates have heard about. So I'm curious. We have nothing to do with basketball on this show, but I got to ask you if you heard about the Kyrie trade and what you're thinking.
Oh, of course. The Kyrie trade totally altered our programming on Comcast tonight. We were all set to go, Mike Giardi and I, from the stadium for a couple of early hits for the early edition show that we have. And we were going to tape some other stuff, and it was going to be a big Patriots day. Dante Hightower's back at practice. Nate Solder's back at practice. Mike Gillislee spoke to us for the first time in a long time. So there was a lot to talk about. And they essentially said, you guys have the rest of the night off because we're talking Kyrie for about the next 15 hours. So, listen, I like it. I loved Isaiah Thomas, and I loved the way he played and everything he went through with his family and his sister passing away during the postseason. And the guy just was incredible for the Celtics. And so, nothing but good things to say about Isaiah Thomas. But Kyrie Irving's probably, I don't know, I'm not A. Sherrod Blakely or Kyle Draper or any of our basketball experts, but he feels to me like a top, 10, 12 player in the NBA, somewhere in there. And for them to get him for Thomas, who maybe wasn't going to even stick around all that long because he was going to get more money somewhere else, and the Nets pick and Crowder and Zizic, I'm okay with that. I like that a lot. I think this trade makes the Celtics better, so I'm excited about it.
I know, Steve, you're the big basketball guy here. Any thoughts on that?
I would agree. I think that Isaiah Thomas hasn't done anything to make the Celtics fans not like him, but getting an upgrade at that position and getting the extra capital that they got, I think it's a great move. I do think that my Timberwolves are going to give him a run for their money this season, but yeah, I think it's a good move. I love it when any type of move in the NBA shakes everything up, so I'm all for it. I like it.
Listen, I think when you're looking at a season next year where LeBron may not be in the conference anymore, and you can roll out Kyrie and Gordon Hayward and Al Horford, I think it's going to be a formidable starting three. So,
hey, listen, LeBron's staying now. They're going to trade the number 1 pick, bring in Kristaps Porzingis. It's going to be a whole deal down there in Cleveland.
Says the New Yorker.
Like I actually like that. That's what they should do, probably. Get LeBron on the horn. He's the GM there at this point anyway now, right? He's probably
That's right. About that. That's right.
He's actually our next call.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the football because obviously that's the only reason anyone's listening to us, and if they're listening at all. Obviously big news out of camp we'll get to in a little bit with the running backs and that kind of thing, and you just mentioned all the players that are coming back. But I want to start off by talking a little bit about the Brady, the quarterback situation. Brady's a guy that I think has been being drafted very high this year as far as quarterbacks go. Everyone seems to be expecting a huge year out of him. He looks driven. He looks ready to go. They didn't trade. Meanwhile, they didn't trade Garoppolo. It's been big news here on the radio. They talked about it all offseason that they didn't make the move to get something for him. They're clearly all in for the championship. So my first question is really just, what do you think of Brady? How's he look? How's it, should he be as highly drafted as he is? And then secondly, is there any buzz about Garoppolo and what's going to happen with him? Is this really the long haul for those of us in Dynasty League? Should we be looking at him?
It's a great question about Garoppolo, but I'll start with Brady and where he's being taken. I think the last I checked, he was basically on average about a 4th-round pick. Does that sound right to you guys? For the most part, right in that range, somewhere like that.
Yep,
that's pretty. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, I would be totally okay with taking Brady there, and I would take him. I think even ahead of Aaron Rodgers, which I'm sort of surprising myself as I say that, because I've said for years now that I think Rodgers is the most gifted quarterback in the league physically, and just is able to make throws that nobody else really can make, and is able to do them without putting his team in bad positions and making bad decisions. And I think Rodgers will be really valuable in fantasy this year too. But I just feel like, even though Brady's 40 years old, coming off the last season, and I understand he missed the first month, and that may have helped him a little bit in terms of how he looks by the end of the year. But even if he comes down a tick from last year, you're talking still about, maybe the MVP of the league. And they only got better offensively, in my opinion. And especially from a fantasy perspective for Brady, I think losing LeGarrette Blount, may in a weird way potentially help Brady. I mean, Blount was just such a weapon at the goal line, and was able to do, was able to take on so much in some scoring situations for the Patriots. And I know that they have Gillislee now, they have Rex Burkhead, and those guys can still get some goal line touches, but maybe it just means, potentially more throws from Brady at the goal line. And if Rob Gronkowski can stay healthy, that's all of a sudden a weapon that you have that you didn't have for, basically more than half of last season, if you factor in the games where he really wasn't 100%. So I'm not saying he's going to be better than he was last year, because that was an all-time 12 games that he had. But I think with the pieces around him, and the fact that he looks as good as he looks right now, he deserves to be the first quarterback taken. And if he's available in the fourth round, I'm probably taking him myself.
All right, you won't get any argument out of me for that, because listen, I'm all about it. So the follow-up question is obvious here. Obviously, in Dynasty.
Garoppolo.
Yeah, in Dynasty leagues, I think people are taking him, and they're holding on to him, and they were hoping that this would be the year, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be this year. What can we expect?
Man, this is fascinating. I mean, if I told you I knew how this was going to shake out, I'd be lying. It just feels like the Patriots wanted to give themselves some insurance, as good an insurance policy as you can get at that position, for what looks like, you said it, that they're all in, whether you want to call it they're all in, or they pushed all their chips in, whatever you want to say. This is as good a chance, this might be their last best chance, if that makes sense, to win a Super Bowl with Brady, just based on how some of the contracts have shaken out, and they've cleaned up some of those, in terms of, like, they extended Julian Edelman, who's going into a contract year. But somebody like Nate Solder is going into a contract year, and that could throw that, all-important left tackle position into flux a little bit. I'm not saying the Patriots are all of a sudden going to fall off in 2018, but I think they know that they have a very good group this year, and keeping Garoppolo as a guard against really the one thing that could derail your season, which is your starting quarterback getting injured, I think is a factor. I also think they just wanted to buy themselves another year and just see, okay, well, we know Tom looked great last year. Let's see what he looks like as a 40-year-old. And because, history has proven that these guys fall off really quickly whenever they do start to fall off. And so you're guarding against that in a way, too, and you're buying yourselves more time. I think if Brady looks the way we all expect him to look this year, and if Jacoby Brissett, which is strange, like that he's going to factor into this equation, but I think that he does. If Brissett improves at like a really remarkable rate over the course of this year, and in all honesty, like the returns haven't been great so far this summer with him, but if they give him a full season and he looks like a competent backup quarterback by the end of the year, I think what the Patriots would do with Garoppolo would be franchise him and trade him away and try to get something at that point, because you feel good about Brady. You feel okay with Garoppolo, at least as a starter or as a backup, and then maybe you're kind of looking in the draft again for a starter down the line. I just find it really hard to believe that they would franchise Garoppolo and keep him at that cap hit, and also, keep Brady at $20 million or whatever his cap hit will be, and they might even have to give Brady a raise if Garoppolo is getting $25 for a year. Like, I don't know if they would keep Brady at 20 or whatever he's scheduled to make. So it gets real weird after this year if everything kind of shakes out the way you'd expect it to with Brady. So I think Garoppolo, if you have Garoppolo in your dynasty league, long story short, I would feel good about him getting a shot next year. I just don't think it's going to be with the Patriots.
Well, if you're in a dynasty league with Kevin, and you don't have Garoppolo because he's sucked them up everywhere we play.
That is true. $40 million's a lot to spend on quarterbacks, so I'm with you there, Phil.
So, Phil, being in New York,
it's way too much. Way too much.
Sorry to cut you off there, but being a New York guy, it's hard for me to admit that one of my favorite Kenny Chesney songs is "She's from Boston." I'm sure you heard that one a bunch of times today.
I have. They promote that like crazy everywhere right now. All over the place.
So, you brought up Gillislee and Burkhead before, and let's get into the running backs here, which is always a mystery with the Patriots. And they didn't do anything to dispel that mystery by releasing a depth chart today that had no running back depth chart on it. And it was all the buzz on Twitter, on fantasy Twitter, especially this morning. I know Gillislee returned to practice today. As best as you can, and even as a guy who's around that team all the time, give us some kind of an idea of what in the world we should expect as fantasy owners when it comes to that Patriots backfield.
So it's obviously always such a crapshoot. Like you said, I still would be making Mike Gillislee the first Patriots running back that I would be interested in. I just don't know if I'll draft him, because I think there will be others who are more interested in him than I am. And it's not that I don't think he'll have a significant role when he's out there.
I'm a little wary of this guy's hamstring injury history now, and he was back in practice today, but he's dealt with hamstring stuff since, the days at Buffalo. He basically came to New England, he admitted, with a hamstring issue that limited him in the spring. We saw him for one day, essentially, in fully padded practice very early in training camp. I believe it was the third day of practice. And we have not seen him since. Again, he was back out there today, but today was the first day that we were not allowed to watch the full practice. So it's not even really sure how much he participated. He said he was a full go, but you never know. So he's just the combination of the puzzling nature, by which the Patriots operate when it comes to this position, and Gillislee's injury history. He should be the guy who gets the LeGarrette Blount work, period. I just am not totally sold on the fact that he'll be out there taking that full workload that Blount had last year, because Blount, did a pretty good job of staying on the field. If I'm drafting anybody, even in PPR leagues, I know people like James White, and I think James White will have another, significant role. Again, they just re-upped with the guy. Gave him an extension, obviously at the big Super Bowl, but I'm not sure I'm taking him either, just because they have these other two backs that are all-purpose backs. One's Dion Lewis and one's Rex Burkhead. These guys can play in every situation. They can run between the tackles. They can split out. They can catch passes. They can catch out of the backfield. They can pass protect. One thing that we know the Patriots wanted to do this offseason was become more unpredictable with their running backs and those running backs' roles. So, last year we know if Blount was on the field, they were running it. If White was on the field, they were passing it, because White really was no threat to carry and Blount couldn't catch. And now they have these two weapons in Lewis and Burkhead that can do a little bit of everything. And I think, Lewis may get managed a little bit because he has the injury history, and they may want to make sure he's good for the end of the season. And I could see them treating him a little bit in the same way they treat somebody like Danny Amendola, who's always an injury risk, but they've done a pretty good job the last couple of years of managing him, and he's been really important in the playoffs. And so now we've talked about three running backs that I'm not totally interested in drafting in fantasy, and we're left with Rex Burkhead, who, at the price you could get him at,
13th round,
one of your last rounds in fantasy, I'm scooping him up and not thinking twice about it, because I think between Gillislee potentially, dealing with some injuries over the course of the year, I think the fact that they are trying to become more predictable, and Burkhead is just as, he's not quite as explosive as Dion Lewis in and out of his cuts, but he's he's just as versatile in terms of the different roles you could use him in. I think there's a real chance he ends up, playing just as many snaps as Gillislee. I'm fascinated by him for PPR purposes as well, because I think even if Gillislee is out there, you could see Burkhead working out of the slot the way he did at times in Cincinnati. So that would be my take on the Patriots running backs. Would be, Gillislee, if he's going in the 5th or 6th, like I'm not really all that willing to buy at that point. I think there might be some other better options. Burkhead in the 15th or the 14th or whatever it is, that is something I'd be much more interested in.
Yeah, it's a 7-round difference between the two backs. You nailed it. I know I'm in agreement with you on that, and I'm sure these other guys are as well. So, excellent.
Yes, that is correct. So they got a lot of weapons added to the offense at the running back position, but then they also added Brandon Cooks to their wide receiver core to go along with Julian Edelman and Chris Hogan and Danny Amendola and Malcolm Mitchell, all those guys. Is Brandon Cooks going to be their go-to wide receiver this year, or do you think he's going to spread that ball around to everybody because they have so many guys that they trust on that offense?
Yeah, he's going to spread it out. I do think, Cooks will be out there. When you're talking about the different sets that they like to use, whether it's, the 12 personnel or 22 or like Cooks is going to be out there, and it's going to be him and Julian Edelman, in my opinion, that see the bulk of the snaps there. Chris Hogan is going to be worked in, though. If healthy, Malcolm Mitchell is going to be worked in. Again, Danny Amendola is not, I don't think, a huge threat to any of these guys in terms of targets. Like, if you look at his regular season production last year, it's like very minimal. I think he's in the 20s in terms of his number of catches. So with Cooks, I would say this. I would say be prepared for him to perform as he did as a member of the New Orleans Saints, because the Saints were a team that had plenty of offensive weapons. Honestly, they did not, in my opinion, last year have as many as the Patriots do this year. And so that, you could use that as an argument that maybe, Cooks sees even less in terms of targets and catches. But I would be expecting him to be the kind of player, which is what he was in New Orleans, who can absolutely blow up any given week and win you your week, but he could also come through with 3 catches for 23 yards on 4 targets and really kill you. And so if he's a 2nd-round pick or a 3rd-round pick, I might be willing, depending on what my receivers look like or how the first 2 rounds shook out. Like, I might be willing in the 3rd and 4th. There's a 2nd that's too high for me. Again, I just think there are going to be weeks where he murders you. And at the end of the year, it's going to look great, but you're going to look back maybe at because I've owned Brandon Cooks as a member of the Saints, and I've had a love-hate relationship with him in the past because it's great when he blows up and has 98 yards on 2 catches and touchdown, but it's those weeks where the output is really meager, where you could end up. It could really end up hurting your record at the end of the year and your chances of making the playoffs. So, for fantasy purposes, I'm just kind of treating him as I've always treated him, basically.
All right. So one other question about the passing game here, because obviously Gronkowski played in the preseason game the other night and kind of threw everyone off because he hasn't done that in I think 6 years or 5 years now. 5 years, was it?
Yeah, 5.
Weird to see him out there, but it must be a good sign that he's performing well in camp and he's healthy. Does that kind of make you wonder if Dwayne Allen has any value, or do you see a role for him similar to Martellus Bennett, or what can we expect out of the tight end group? Obviously, you're hoping Gronk makes it through and he's your number 1 tight end, but is there anything else to look for out of that group?
Man, I wouldn't expect a whole lot just because they have so many options at receiver and out of the backfield that I think it's going to be difficult to try to predict when the Dwayne Allen week will be. I think that was sort of the case even with Bennett. Bennett had that monster game against the Browns last year in week 5, but I don't know if anybody started him because I think the week before he had no catches or he had 1 catch for like 13 yards or something. It was really, for Bennett owners last year, I remember frustrating because he just had no idea when he was going to be the guy. And I think it's going to be similar this year, and I think I would be even more leery of drafting Allen this year than I was of drafting Bennett last year, because of everybody around him, but also because, and Bennett was a great run blocker, and the Patriots used him a lot in that role for their offense. I think Allen is kind of right there and might even be a little bit better in that regard. And so he, to me, is going to be, he's going to be out there and he'll be a threat to catch it, and defenses will have to pay attention to him. But I think, they're really going to rely on him as a blocker, run game, pass game. Nate Solder's been dealing with injuries in camp. If Cameron Fleming has to start on the left side week 1, I could see a lot of Dwayne Allen just parking his butt right next to Fleming's and making sure that he has help on every snap against whoever it is, Tom Ali or Justin Houston, that's out there for the Chiefs. So I would not put a ton of stock in Dwayne Allen unless I'm a Rob Gronkowski owner. If I own Rob Gronkowski and I spend a second-round pick on him, then that makes it a little bit different. But I still think you should be able to get Allen really late in your draft, because it feels like tight end is somewhat of a deep position this year. You guys can tell me if I have that all wrong, but I don't think they're going to be people clamoring to get Dwayne Allen's services in fantasy this year.
No, he's definitely going much further down. So, all right, Phil, we know you got to get out of here pretty soon. 2 quick questions for you. Number 1, we know you won your league last year thanks to us. Obviously, that was Falafel's doing, right? But
I did. I think I still owe you guys a portion of my winnings.
That's right. But have
my
you
address is 28. I'm sorry.
Have you had your draft yet this year? And if so, how's it looking? Are you going for the repeat?
So listen, we have not had the draft yet. We tried to do the draft after the final preseason game. We could probably get away with doing it after the 3rd preseason game, because most fantasy players aren't going to be taking part in that preseason finale. So we'll do it. What we've been doing is typically we do a Labor Day weekend. We try to make it into a big deal. And guys, there's a target on my back. There's a target on my back because I do have that trophy now. Not only that, but I'm the commissioner too. And so I've been the guy sending all the emails this off season, and I've been reminding people at every opportunity just how badly I destroyed them and embarrassed them and embarrassed their families last year with your help. So it's been a lot of fun for me. Like, I don't know, if you were to ask one of my buddies, they would probably say that I have fallen down their friendship rankings at this point, but that's okay. It's all worth it.
Awesome. All right. Well, when you get towards the draft, you have to let us check in and let us know how it goes, and let us know if you're set up for the repeat. Let everyone out there know where they can follow you. Obviously, it's Phil A. Perry on Twitter, but where else can they check you out, and what else you have going on?
So it's Phil A. Perry on Twitter and on Instagram, and be sure to, if you're looking for as much Patriots news as you can gather, we're providing it. We're every night on Early Edition on Comcast Sportsnet, New England, 6 to 8 o'clock. We're also on Boston Sports Tonight, which is a new show that's every night. It's 3 hours a night, 9 to midnight, and we're only picking up the football coverage as we get closer and closer to the regular season here. Red Sox are playing well. Obviously, the Celtics are making news. But these shows are basically going to be football shows as we get to week 1. And so be sure to watch those. We're also going to have the Football Fix, which is back, and we'll be talking fantasy on that show. So I'm going to need to keep checking in with you guys to keep me updated on what I should be talking about. But that will be, I believe that's going to be Fridays at, I think, 6 o'clock. We're still trying to figure out the schedule, but Football Fix will be back. And so we're basically going to have you covered all hours of the day, every day of the week, in terms of Patriots coverage.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, we thank you very much for coming on, and we will make sure to get everyone your information on Twitter tomorrow to get them to check you out. Thanks a lot, Phil.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me, and good luck with your league.
All right.
All right,
Thank you, Phil. Have a good night.
All right, thanks a lot to Phil Perry. Always great information. Love his insights on the Patriots. And
I hate to admit it because he's a New England guy, but I like the guy. I really like him. Thank you, Phil.
He does know. You know what? Phil would have kept Cameron Brate over Eric Ebron. I can guarantee you that much.
Why not?
No, I don't think he would have.
What's the benefit?
Let me ask you this, Steve. We've been doing a lot of play drafts, best ball leagues.
Yep.
Do you have Cameron Brate on any of those rosters?
Yeah, I have him on multiple rosters because his draft value is so late, and he is going to be the tight end to own from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. Yeah, I've got him on a ton of teams. He is a great late add for the tight end position, especially in best ball, because you're not going to have to draft him as your first tight end. He can be your second guy, and he can just step up and fill that spot whenever he does have those touchdowns or those big games, which he is bound to have. He is the tight end to own in Tampa Bay. How many times do I got to say this?
So not that I disagree with you, Steve, but you said Evan Ingram was going to be heavily involved in the offense for the Giants, and he's going to have a role there. And I watched Tampa Bay's game on Thursday, and twice O.J. Howard was targeted in the red zone, and Cameron Brate was used also. But I think you might see O.J. Howard more than you're portraying you're going to see him this year. So I'm interested why so heavy on Ingram. I know they don't have a Cameron Brate in that offense, but not so high on O.J. Howard.
On a whole, for my dynasty team, how it was set up, I had Hunter Henry as my starting tight end. I have Cameron Brate as the primary backup. And from a dynasty standpoint, I would rather have Evan Ingram at this point than Eric Ebron. So for this year now...
You didn't make that choice.
I did.
You didn't make that choice.
I planned
That's what's driving me nuts. You did not choose that. You chose to chose to draft Cameron Brate and drop Eric Ebron. So you made the choice of Cameron Brate in a dynasty format to over Eric Ebron. This is the point. We can move on. I'm just saying.
I can side with Kevin here. I don't like it, but I don't like it.
It doesn't make any sense. That's all.
For this year,
all right, let's talk about the play draft app.
No. For this year,
it doesn't matter this year. You're in a dynasty league.
I would rather have Cameron Brate over Eric Ebron this year, and next year I'd probably have Evan Ingram over Eric Ebron.
Here's the thing. Forget if you like Cameron Brate more this year than Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron has more trade value. He has more value in the league. You could get more if you're not planning to have either of them long term, you can get way more out of Eric Ebron than you can Cameron Brate. That's a guarantee.
Knowing my league, not a huge trade savvy league, not a lot of traders in that league, wasn't interested.
Listen to him, Steve. He's a dynasty game night winner.
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
I was a dynasty game night.
Sal, can you please cut him off and talk about the play draft app, please, just a little bit?
Heck yeah, man! I mean, we're starting to get close to the season now, so if you want to get on there and play some best ball, you better be doing it soon because pretty soon the weekly games are going to be out, which we're also eagerly anticipating. But right now we are on there doing. I still got an 8-hour draft. That's some of you guys out there need to wake up, but you're taking 7-8 hours, and I'm starting to forget I'm actually in the draft, but. Yeah, we're getting a few more in before the season. Yeah, they're lulling me to sleep. I think they wait until it's like midnight by me, and then by the time I get up, I miss my pick. But yeah, I mean, I'm still plugging away, getting in drafts every day, playing with Steve. He's in there all the damn time. I can't seem to find a league without him, and a lot of other great guys out there. As we mentioned, tons of people from the dynasty industry and the fantasy industry. Sorry, you guys got dynasty on my mind now. And yeah, I love it, Kev. I'm loving it.
So for those of you who haven't signed up yet, you can go to playdraft.com/falafel, or you can go on and download the app on the iTunes Play or the Google Play Store, and you can use promo code Falafel. If you do that, they will give you a free entry into a best ball tournament. So as long as you deposit $10 minimum. So get on there and do that. And hey, if they forget, they will you just send them a note and they'll actually fix it. We had someone do that this week. So that was great. They are very responsive to any questions or any problems you have with the app or the website. If you hit them up on Twitter, they will take care of your problem. They've been very responsive. The app itself and even the website actually very user friendly. The interface is great. It's easy to navigate. You know what players you're selecting. You know when their bye week is. You can see what their average draft position is. You can build your own average, or you can build your own settings so that and then go on auto draft so it takes the players that you want. And you can find Steve somewhere on there and beat him because he's literally in every best ball tournament that's on there, I think.
Hey, Kev, one more thing. How about this? Our good friend, Sean Meyer, Dead Duck, he reaches out to them and says, when can I play in Indiana? They said, we're trying. It's coming. Within 2 weeks, boom, this guy is playing in Indiana. So you want to talk about response.
Yeah.
They got a whole state involved. He reached out and added an entire state just to make this guy happy. So they are ultra responsive. Love everything that they're doing over there at Draft.
All right, Steve, what's the we've been doing this for a while now. What's the count up to on your best ball tournaments?
I am at 27 right now. 27 drafts. I've got to get in a few more before they are cut off and they switch over to the week 1 mode. But I'm at 27. I'm going to win over $700 is what they're telling me. And I just can't wait to rake in all that cash. It's been nice taking all you guys' money this offseason.
Possibly. Your possible money is $700.
You possibly could. You could possibly win Powerball too, but
no,
I can't remember how many leagues you drafted 3 tight ends with the same bye week. You drafted 1 quarterback in another league. You're not that good at this, Steve.
Oh, that was a sloppy night. I'll tell you what, that was a sloppy night. But it tells me usually it says projected winnings or possible winnings. Mine says guaranteed. And it says guaranteed winnings over $700. So I don't know what you guys have done.
I'm gonna have to check into that. So, all right. So make sure you go to playdraft.com/falafel or go to the Playdraft app on your iTunes or your Google Play Store and check them out. Promo code falafel. From one app that we love in the Playdraft app to another app that we love, the Fantasy Life app. Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life app. You can get that in both Google Play Store and iTunes as well. Make sure you go and check out the Falafel House chat when you get on there because we're all in there and we're answering questions and it's kind of what we do. And we have a lot of questions tonight regarding drafts that are coming up from all of the users on the Fantasy Life app. So Steve, I'm going to run through these, and you're going to give some answers. Sal's going to give some answers, and we're going to see if we can help these people out. Are you ready?
Yes.
Sal, are you ready?
Okay, boss.
All right. We're going to start off with a good old friend of ours, Yes Sir, who always he always asks questions when we have these posts, so we really appreciate that. Thank you to Yes Sir. He wants to know, is the Doug Martin hype train is revving back up? Another RB1 season for him, or should he pass? Steve, what are your thoughts on Doug Martin this year?
Doug Martin has been interesting. He's had an interesting offseason. He's had a lot of talk of whether or not he's going to be on the team when he comes back from his suspension, whether or not he's going to be the starter when he comes back from his suspension. So as of right now, it's kind of hard to tell. He has had a great training camp. He's looked great. He's by far the best-looking running back on that team right now, currently being drafted as running back 33 and going in the 9th round of a 10-team draft, the 8th round of a 12-team draft. So I don't know if he's going to be that RB1 type that he was a few years ago, but at his current cost, I don't think you're losing much by taking a shot at him, especially when you can get Jacquizz Rodgers a few rounds later than that to cover the suspension games. I think that you are setting yourself up to have a running back in a high-powered offense on a team that is expected to compete this year. So I would have no problem drafting Doug Martin where he is going in current drafts. And as long as you get Rodgers to fill in for those games, I think that you're going to be okay. I think you're going to have a very serviceable back. So, yeah, I have no problem with drafting Doug Martin. Running back 1, maybe a little high. Running back 2, I see no reason why he could not end up in that spot.
Yeah, I know you want to go quickly, but it was Joe Goodberry, and it was on a DJ-Nation, is it a DFS DJ-Nation podcast with our good friend Elliot Christ, who said that Doug Martin is far and away the best running back in camp. It's not a competition. Draft a guy. He's a high-end RB2. The value is ridiculous. Where are you going to get him? Draft him.
High-end RB2, and yet you and Steve have him in the 30s. I have him at 17.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
This was a goddamn setup.
Interesting.
Oh, my God.
Seriously, I'm going to take those rankings and shove them in your ass. We don't update them every weekend. I that's it. I don't get paid to do this. All right. So, Doug Martin, INRB2.
Wait a second. Where's the money I've been sending you going? Where's that going? Is that not payment?
Feeding children in third world countries, Kevin.
Oh, well, all right. Now listen, your rankings say August 18th.
Royco 58's question is
August 18th. That's 4 days ago, and yet you have him in the 30s. I'm just saying. Let's just put it out.
yes.
Ryko
That
58
came out recently. Shut up, jerk.
Ryko 58 wants to know at the end of the year, the Saints running back with the most points is Sal. You and I are going to
AJ Peterson next.
Are you actually going to stick with Adrian Peterson? You're still going there?
According to my rankings, I'm going to.
I don't know. Let's find out. Should we go there?
Yes, for me,
Do you know where you have them ranked?
Yeah, I have Adrian Peterson in the high 20s, and I have him at 19, and I have Ingram in the lower 20s. I have them close. They've come closer together for me recently. I said that not that long ago, but I still think it's Adrian Peterson. I think that he's going to get the bulk of the touchdowns. And I think that carries more weight, and that's why he will come out with more points by the end of the season.
I'm still looking for Adrian
Peterson is at 21 for you, and Ingram is at 25. So you do have them a lot closer. I actually think Ingram is going to be the play. Obviously, I've been saying this the whole time. I don't think that Adrian Peterson is built to last anymore. I don't. I think I get your point about the goal line carries, and I do think that is will make him have some value, which is, but I don't think it's going to be RB2 value at all. I think Mark Ingram has the chance to be a high-end RB2, if not a low-end RB1, just given the landscape of the running backs. I think that he'll be utilized in the passing game. I think that he'll get the same amount of work that he got last year, where he finished, high up in the running back rankings. I think he was an RB1 if I remember.
For 3 years in a row, his workload is actually lightened. So why should he get the same as last year?
Yeah, but he's getting better with that amount.
Is he?
So I think they're finding the right balance for him. Yeah, I mean, he's an RB1.
Where do you have him ranked?
I have him at 11 right now. It'll
you
drop
have Ingram at 11?
Yes, I do.
I've got him at 13.
Oh my God!
Thank you, Steve.
You two guys are idiots.
Love him.
No question about it. He's gonna listen. He's gonna be the guy.
11 and 13, but you won't put Marshall. You got Marshall Lynch at like 73. Get the hell out!
That's false. Do you look at our rankings? You don't even.
I'm talking about Kevin.
He doesn't look at them at all.
I'm talking about Kevin. He's got Marshall Lynch at 30s.
I have no, I don't. I have Marshawn Lynch at 30. Yes, I do. All right, so let's keep moving along here. Z-Perbs 8. He is a 10-team standard, third pick in the third round. Started with AB and Gurley. Should he go Gronk or Hilton here? So third pick, third round, 10-team. He's got Antonio Brown and Gurley. Steve, Gronk or Hilton?
He's saying Gronk or Hilton, and had all the Andrew Luck noise not been so loud this week, I would have said 100% no doubt T.Y. Hilton. He's going right now at 2.09 in a 10-team league, so he's probably not going to be there. So I'm going to go the next guy down and go between the wide receivers of Amari Cooper and Doug Baldwin. If you've got AB and you've got Todd Gurley, I am going to add another wide receiver, and because I'm not a huge fan of the running backs in that area. You've got Leonard Fournette and then Lamar Miller going a little bit behind those guys. I would be taking a guy like Amari Cooper or Doug Baldwin, doubling up those wide receivers. Even though it is in a standard league, I like those guys to have big years, big volume years, some high yardage, some good touchdown totals. So that is the route that I would be going in that scenario.
I asked Gronk or Hilton. He didn't ask any of that.
Yeah, he didn't ask that at all. You completely ignored his question.
Then I'm going to go Gronk, obviously. Jeez Louise. Pepper squeeze, you guys. Jeez Louise, pepper squeeze.
Did you just say pepper squeeze? How did that happen?
I'll tell you what.
You even?
Hey, Kev.
Where are you from?
Let me tell you. When you get a 3-year-old kid walking around your house, that's the type of stuff they're going to be saying to you, and you're going to repeat it on this podcast right now.
Wow. I'm just, I don't even know what to do with this. I was going to give.
You get what you get, and you don't get upset.
I actually have that book. We do have that book for my daughter, but geez.
Wow. For anybody tuning in tonight, any of the new guys on a Fantasy Life app who are tuning in tonight, Oh my goodness, this is generally not how it goes, but we are a little off the rails already.
Hopefully they only listened to the first half with the great guest Phil Perry that we had, and now this is, whatever. All right, Hill Miles, 27, 10-man PPR. He has two keepers, DeMarco in the 7th or Tyreek in the 16th. With two keepers, it sounds like you would keep them both, but he's asking you to pick one, Sal. So,
yeah, if I'm picking one of those two guys, it's still going to be DeMarco Murray for me because I know he's an RB1. It's not even a discussion. As long as he's healthy, which I think he's just being kept out of practice right now to make sure he's ready to go for week 1. We all saw what Henry did this weekend, and he flashed brilliance. And I love Henry, and I'm looking forward to next year when he gets the job. But for me, right now, this year, it's DeMarco Murray. Tyreek Hill is got all kinds of possibilities, but that's what it is. It's possibilities. DeMarco Murray has been an RB1 multiple seasons in this league, and I'll take him at a round 7 value all day.
All right, we're going to continue on because we are short on time here. Mr. Meeseeks, rounds 3 and 4 are kind of a mess this year. Who are you willing to put your reputation behind to emerge as a stud from that group? Why don't you both give me one? We'll start with Steve.
I mean, I don't have a big problem with the guys that are in round 3 or 4. You have Demaryius Thomas. I would be more than happy to draft him in the 3rd round. Marshawn Lynch, a guy that Kevin obviously hates. I would be happy to take him in the 3rd round. And someone who has become near and dear to my heart over this last weekend, Christian McCaffrey, a.k.a. Tiny Dancer. He is somebody that I would probably wait till the 4th round, but would take him in the 4th round if I saw him there. So those would be my 3 guys.
So we're talking about 2 rounds, and Steve took 3 of them, Sal. But maybe you could just sort through and find one for yourself.
Steve, did you say call aside?
Nope.
Oh yeah, I couldn't tell because you were just rambling on when you're not paying attention to the instructions.
What are you talking about?
Call aside is the guy for me
Please.
because oh my God, here we go. I'm just gonna say Carlos Hyde, Kevin, and let's just move on.
You son of a bitch. Carlos Hyde would have been one of the ones that I said. So I am probably going to say, oh man, here. This is tough for me.
Take one of Steve's. He threw 3 of them out there.
Yeah, he got 3 of them out there. I don't know. I think that in the 3rd round, Alshon Jeffrey, end of the 3rd round, is probably a guy that I've been drafting in a lot of places. I know that there's the injury risk. There is a risk with drafting him, but I think he's in for a break. A big year. I love the offense in Philadelphia. I'm coming around to your thoughts on Wentz this year, Sal. I think he's going to have a better year than he did last year, and I think he's the guy that I would probably pick from that group that I would feel as can emerge as the stud. All right, Colin-Taylor. What do you feel about the extremely talented wide receivers that flopped last year? We're talking about A-Rob. We're talking about DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, and Keenan Allen. Sal, any of those guys bouncing back this year for you?
Yeah, well, I was high on Watkins, and then he got moved over to the Rams, and I just don't think that it's as good a situation for him this year. We all saw how Cooper Kupp stepped up this weekend. I think he's going to be involved in that offense. So long term, I think Sammy Watkins will find himself doing good things in LA, but I don't know if it's this year. Allen Robinson, I mean, the guy has all kinds of ability. They threw to him 8 times in the first half the other night, but it was at his feet. It was over his head. It was out of bounds. So the quarterback situation there needs to get straightened out before I would trust him again. Same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. I know that Tom Savage was named the starting quarterback, but I think it's only a matter of time before Deshaun Watson is the starter there. So these guys all scare me on some level. So the guy I'm trusting the most is Keenan Allen out of these 4. I hear that he's healthy. He looks good. And we know that when he's healthy and he connects with Phillip Rivers, everything goes well. So the guy I feel will have the biggest bounce back out of those 4 is Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I disagree with you a little bit about Sammy Watkins only because I think he's going, while I do think the offense, wasn't great last year in LA. I think that they are, going to be better off this year with the new coach, second year for Goff and all that. And I do think that, the Bills they didn't throw, lowest throwing passing attempts in the league last year. So you got to figure he's going to have some more targets. I just think he's probably going to be better than he was in Buffalo. But the guy I would go with is DeAndre Hopkins anyway, because I think he's the most talented. He's going to get the target share, and I think he's the most likely to stay healthy. I would have been on A-Rob as well, but I'm with you, Sal. It does not look pretty right now. So, Steve, we don't care what you think about this one. We're going to move on. Kyle Thule.
Kyle T. Hooley.
T. Hooley, there you go. Kept 2 wide receivers. He has Antonio Brown and Mike Evans and a keeper PPR. He's got the 11th pick, and Crabtree is projected to be best available at 11th pick in the first round. Do you take him as your flex, or do you go with someone there around there at running back? Steve, he's looking at Marshawn Lynch or your friend Tiny Dancer.
Yeah, I would. When you're keeping those 2 wide receivers, I think you're pretty much set at that position. I think it's pretty obvious. So, yes, I would be looking at the best available running back at the position. And, yeah, I think Marshawn Lynch, I think Christian McCaffrey. If either of those guys are there, I think you go ahead and shift gears, go to that position. You have the wide receiver position shored up for the entire year. You're not going to ever start anybody over those 2 guys that you have. So go ahead and spend your next 2 picks on running backs that you're going to be able to also start every single week. I think that would be your absolute best move to make your team the most balanced and to alleviate yourself of any headaches that you might have throughout the year of trying to decide which guys to choose, Marshawn Lynch or Christian McCaffrey or Joe Mixon or Dalvin Cook. Either of those guys would be great assets to that pairing of wide receivers that you have.
All right, Steve, keep it going. Christian Diets 1223 wants to know who you think, Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen this year. Who has the bigger year? Assuming health.
Now, I know Kevin is staring and burning a hole through my rankings at this very moment, which means that I've got Amari Cooper ranked a few spots higher than Keenan Allen right now. So my choice would be Amari Cooper. I think that he has the higher ceiling.
6 spots.
Yes, I think he has the higher ceiling of those 2 wide receivers. I do not hate Keenan Allen. I think that he has got probably the higher floor of the 2 players as long as they both stay healthy, like the question says, assuming they both stay healthy. So if you're going for safety, you go with Keenan Allen. If you're going for a high ceiling, a boom or bust guy, Amari Cooper is your guy because he's got the ability to take that top off. Keenan Allen's going to do it in a more progressional approach. He's going to be, the short yardage type of guy. So I would be taking Amari Cooper to have the higher ceiling. Keenan Allen, the safer pick of the 2, depending on how your draft starts.
Just wait and take Michael Crabtree like 4 rounds later.
There you go. All right. Our friend Dead Duck, who you already mentioned, is now playing on the Play Draft app in Indiana, Sal.
Congrats, buddy.
Which rookie running back will make the most immediate impact and will have the best season this year? Apparently, he put a winky face in there for you.
So the way I read the question was, which rookie RB will have the most immediate impact and which will have the best season this year? So for me, the guy who's going to have the biggest immediate impact is going to be Christian McCaffrey. We saw the nice play that he had this weekend, running for a touchdown and catching passes and doing a ton of stuff. So I think immediately he's going to come out of the box hot. But long term, for the whole season, when all the dust settles, I think the best rookie running back this year is going to be Dalvin Cook for fantasy. I just think he's going to get more opportunity. Latavius Murray doesn't worry me. Jerick McKinnon doesn't worry me. I think that Minnesota might be out of it at a certain point and just be like, let's go with this kid and let him have the run. So overall, it would be Dalvin Cook for me.
I've got a question.
So,
sure.
Why I see a lot on fantasy Twitter of usually dynasty type guys clamoring for Jerick McKinnon, saying that he is going to be a guy that he is going to be relevant at some point. Don't you think he's already kind of had his opportunity? Like, I think that if he was going to make a splash in this league and do anything, he would have done it by now with the amount.
Yeah, if he could have held off Matt Asiata.
Exactly.
Then.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with McKinnon, I agree with you, Steve, but I think the thing with McKinnon is particularly with those who've played in dynasty formats for quite some time. Obviously, he was a prospect, particularly if you played Devy. I think he was a guy that people looked at. He had good numbers coming out of the combine, so he's just a guy that people have expected a lot for. We tend to hang on to those types of guys. So, I agree with you though, Steve. And as far as the rookie running back, I think it's Leonard Fournette for both. I know people are a little nervous about the foot. But I think he's gonna be fine. It doesn't sound like it's something that should keep him out of the first game or any of the games. And I just think he has the best opportunity because I think he's going to get the most work. So.
Yeah, right, but so Leonard Fournette's the one who said that he wouldn't be ready for game one, right? Not any medical individual, but I have a feeling with what's going on with those quarterbacks, they're going to be stacking a box. That's going to be a tough road to sled for him. He came out and made the stupid, idiotic statement after week one preseason that the NFL was slow and easy, and I think he put a target on his back. So I don't doubt that Leonard Fournette is going to have a good career and might be the best running back. I'm just not sure it's going to happen this year.
Well, we'll see. I'll let you have your opinion. Couldn't let me have mine. Our friend KS44. Sal. He wants to know about our friend Doug Peterson. He wants to know if he's telling the truth, and he also wants Steve to let him know where you were targeting these rookie backs in the larger leagues and who was being mishyped, but I'm not sure that's a word. So
well, of course it's a word. It's my man Kareem. So Kareem wanted me to go on a Doug Peterson rant. He said he felt it was time. It's not time yet, Kareem. It's only preseason. I have to see how Doug screws us in season first. So I'm just letting him know right now. DP, I want you to settle this in the next week by game 3. Let us know who's going to be the running back, and if it's Wendell Smallwood, then you did it right. By me.
He did come out and say that LeGarrette Blount will get a lot of work.
Right. He said he's going to be a beast for us this year, an integral part of the offense, days after a report came out that he could be cut. And that's why, Doug Peterson, that's why I'm close to a rant, Doug. That's why I'm close, Doug. But I'm not going to go all the way. I'm not going to go all the way tonight. Not yet. Nope.
And I'm going to answer my question to Kareem by not answering it at all because he's trying to wonder where I'm going to be taking these rookie running backs in falafel. I feel like there's a deeper meaning behind this question, and I'm going to say you take these rookie running backs where you see fit. If you want them, you go and take one. I don't think you can really go wrong with either of the four, the main four, the big four. So taking either one of them in the 3rd or 4th round, I would be completely behind no matter the size of the league. I'd be a little hesitant to take them earlier than that in any league, but 3rd or 4th round seems to be where they're all going to be going this year.
Hey, to answer his other question, if you want an overhyped guy, and we talked about him with Phil Perry, it's Gillislee. Gillislee's just getting back on the field today, and he's going as high as some places in the 4th round, but his ADP is in the 6th. Too high for me. RB25.
He's got to be. He's going to have 18 touchdowns though. 18.
Oh, sorry, correction. Take him in the 2nd round.
That's right. All right. One little Indian wants to know, in a single QB league, what's the earliest you take one? And if all scoring is standard, but passing TDs are worth 6 points, am I wrong thinking it really doesn't change the value of a QB? Leave it to the Canadians to answer weird or to ask questions in a weird format. Sal, when are you taking quarterbacks in the single quarterback leagues?
So the earliest I would take one, and that would be if one of the big guys slipped, would be the 5th round. If Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady are going to slip to the 5th round, or maybe even Breeze, maybe I consider taking one of them, but most likely not. Most likely they're not going to slip there. Every league has those guys who reach for the QBs. I think that people have that misconception that it doesn't matter when you raise the touchdowns to 6 points. So if he's asking, does it change how you would rank a rushing quarterback as opposed to a passing quarterback? I think it does change the value. It levels it out a little bit. It doesn't raise them up in the rankings as far as the other players go, if that's what he's saying, because it's still a single QB league. But as far as your quarterback rankings, it definitely changes things up.
I would disagree just a little bit, just because you have a guy like
Don't be nervous. Go for it.
No, I'm not nervous. I'm fine. I'm just fine.
Disagree.
You have a guy like Aaron Rodgers. He throws 35 touchdowns. If he gets getting 2 extra points for that, as opposed to a normal league where there are 4 points, that's an extra 70 points in your league.
I was told there would be no math.
It's okay. I took care of it for you. It was simple addition. So no big deal. And so I do think it makes a little bit of a difference. And I think the drafting a QB early has become totally league dependent. If you are a guy that is in a league with a bunch of people that don't pay necessarily as much attention that a lot of us do on the Fantasy Life app, who are obviously paying attention all year round, it is something that, like, I've realized in my big money league, I have to take a quarterback earlier because it doesn't matter if I have 7 wide receivers that I can try and pick and choose from each week based on the best matchup and who should do the best, as opposed to having the guys that I think are going to do the best week in and week out, and also having that quarterback that is going to also do good week in and week out. You have to know your league. If the majority of your league is waiting on quarterback, then yes, you absolutely have to as well. But if you're going to have guys taking quarterbacks earlier and earlier and earlier, it doesn't do good for your team to have 7 wide receivers on your team and you picking the best 3 to start every week. It's going to cause a pretty big headache. So I've kind of shifted gears as to where I'm going to be drafting. If I see an Aaron Rodgers in the 4th round, I'm going to be taking him there. If I see Tom Brady in the 4th round, I'm probably going to be taking him there too. I don't have to wait for the 5th round for one of those very top echelon guys. I know Drew Brees is slipping into the 5th, and I'd be totally happy with that. But I also think that you really, really have to know how your league drafts to really pinpoint that question down and to get that QB spot, especially if it's only one. Because if everyone starts taking them early, you're going to have a stacked team, you're going to have a ton of depth. But if no one ever gets injured on your team, then you're just going to be picking your spots every week, week in and week out, and it becomes more of a headache. So it is a completely league-dependent question.
Sal, did you notice that Steve is playing in a lot of leagues with 2 copies of players? He said that, if Aaron Rodgers gets taken in the 4th, he's going to take him there. It's interesting. Single quarterback leagues, 2 copies.
Maybe he's a soothsayer.
You son of a bitch.
All right. Thank you, Steve, for that in-depth analysis on that. We really appreciate it. Tecmo City, great name there, by the way. Keep 2, Brady in the 4th, Kelsey in the 5th, or Kelsey in the 5th and Kelvin Benjamin in the 9th. QB is deep, but compare Brady with Cooks. But feel KB value is too good to pass up. It sounds like he's answering his own question here. But Steve seems like he might need you anyway, or Sal. Let's go with Sal.
But
Sal will give a good
so
answer.
I'm confused. Was the question typed wrong?
No,
because
he's saying he's going to. It sounds like he's going to take Kelsey in the 5th, no matter what. So his question
okay, I
is,
see it now. Okay, I see.
Yeah, does he go Brady in the 4th, or does he go Kelvin Benjamin in the 9th to pair with Kelsey?
You're getting Brady at value in the 4th, right? But Kelvin Benjamin, he's a guy I think that is definitely being undervalued. And I think that he's a good price in the 9th, but to give up Brady for him, it's a tough one. I think I'm going to end up keeping Brady in that situation, even though I don't generally like to take a quarterback that early, but it's one of the elite guys. So
yeah, I agree with you, and only because he says he can pair Brady with Cooks, and I'd like that double up with Cooks in this over the KB value. I think they're both right around where they should be. In my opinion, I'm not that high on KB this year. So, all right, let's keep moving along very quickly here. Steve, Kicker 618 wants to know top 5 sleepers round 12 or later. Give me one.
One sleeper going that late. I'll go Carson Palmer, being drafted as QB 20, drafted at 1406 in a 10-team league, 12.04 in a 12-team league. I think he's gotten a lot of hype this year. I know Sal has talked about that Arizona offense as being a potential Super Bowl caliber offense, Super Bowl caliber team. So I'll go with Carson Palmer there.
Sal, you got one?
Yeah, if we're going to go at one, I'm going to go with a guy that you could scoop up in the 22nd round of a draft, which is basically free, and that is Wendell Smallwood. There's a possibility he could see a lot of touches in Philadelphia this year based on news that's coming out.
I think it's interesting that you went way down in the 22nd, and Steve just kind of snuck in with his 12th round pick here. A guy that I like in the 15th round, J.J. Nelson. It hurts me a little bit to say it, but John Brown clearly is still having some issues. I know he's back at practice. I still like him this year, but if anything that were to happen to him, J.J. Nelson immediately has value in that offense, and he's going in the 15th round, so he's a guy that I would take a flyer on. All right, let's keep moving along here. X Ryan with 3 N's. If you had to predict, what will Ty Montgomery be this year? I'm going to guess running back, guys, right? Running back?
Hey.
I'll guess a water boy.
Oh, wow.
I say a walrus.
Jamal Williams hype is real for Steve. Look, I think Ty Montgomery is going to have some value. I think that he'll probably end up in the running back 3 conversation because I do think he is going to lose touches to Jamal Williams. So at the end of the year, I see him as a running back 3. You guys have a different opinion?
NFL.com has him ranked as running back 9.
That is ludicrous.
Insane.
Absolutely ludicrous.
Is that
All right,
2 points for PPR?
Yeah, last question here. 305 to my city wants to know 14-team standard league. I want to take the Julio or Evans over AB from the 3 spot. Can this be justified? Sal, I know you're a big Julio guy. Go.
No, you can't. I don't justify this, especially if you want to compare. Yeah, and I love the Julio, and I hope that I'm wrong when I say all this because he's my keeper in falafel. But I'm going to give you the last 4 years, just touchdowns. Antonio Brown, 8, 13, 10, and 12. Julio Jones, 2, 6, 8, and 6. Julio Jones puts up monster numbers, but he does not put up a lot of touchdowns. And that's
the year they're going to use him in the red zone. They said so.
I think it's great, but I think if you ask me, and I don't want to get on to Mike Evans because Mike Evans has more weapons now. I think he's definitely in a regression as far as targets go. But to me, it's Antonio Brown, and then number 2 is Odell Beckham Jr. Even though he's a lunatic and a drama queen and all the diva stuff that's come out, there's no denying what he's done. 3 seasons, 12 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, 91, 97, and 101 receptions. It's Antonio Brown, it's Odell Beckham Jr., then it's Julio, and then it's Evans and A.J. Green together. So I can't justify that for you.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone who posted on the Fantasy Life app on Steve's shouts throughout the day. We will have more out there. We will do mailbags throughout the season. So keep an eye on us. If you haven't downloaded the app, definitely get on wherever you get your apps and do that now. Get a username and check into the Falafel House chat. Hit us up for questions. Football's coming, so it's a great place to get answers. Whether you're on the main page or in the Falafel House chat, we're all in there at multiple times throughout the day to answer your questions. So definitely do that. Steve, why don't you get us to the finishing thoughts?
All right, I'm going to do this quick. You can follow us on Twitter at Falafel House. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. And then you could also go to falafelhouse.com where we've got daily content coming out there and our rankings. And you can find the podcast there, obviously. So falafelhouse.com, everyone on the internet, just go and search it out and you will find good stuff.
John Jones, what are you doing, man? That's all I got to say, John. You're an idiot. Loves you. You finally beat up DC, came back, shut the big boy up. And then you got suspended or you might get stripped of your title because you tested positive for steroids again. Killing me, John. I can't defend you anymore. I'm done, Kevin. That's it.
Wow, that was like old school Falafel House when we used to have other sports on this show. Brings me back a little bit there, Sal, when you used to do your MMA updates. If you haven't checked out some of the older episodes, go and download.
Real old episodes.
Like maybe like the first, like 5 or so?
6, yeah.
Yeah, we had some different
we
sports,
cut that
so definitely
out
go
real
check
quick.
those out. Yep, it was terrible. So I just want to remind everyone to go to fantasycares.net and donate to Toys for Tots and get yourself into a best ball tournament run by Scott Fish. And, you'll have an opportunity to win yourself into the Scott Fish Bowl for next year. Also some other, good stuff going on over there. And it's obviously a great cause. So definitely get in there and check it out. And I think that's it for us. Sorry we kept you for a long way, but thank you for listening the entire time. And we will be back later in this week to go over more fantasy goodness and get you even more prepared for your drafts. And until then, Steve, hit the button.
All right.